If you or someone you know has any of these symptoms, don't wait. Call 911 immediately. You could make a difference in someone's life, someone you love, maybe even your own.
It's late until, wait, don't too.
Don't wait until it's too late. Time lost is brain lost.
Find out more at powertoendstroke.org. Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
The World Health Organization is declaring the spread of Middle East respiratory syndrome an urgent concern. The CDC confirmed 3 cases of MERS in the U.S., one being the first transmission of the virus on American soil. The coronavirus can be deadly, with symptoms of fever, coughing, and shortness of breath that is spread through close contact. The risk for travelers is low, but there's no cure, so health officials say airplane passengers should be cautious. House Call for Health, I'm Colleen Capon, Fox News Radio.
Coming up next, it's the O'Reilly Factor, right after a news update from Fox News Radio on foxnewstalk.com.
Fox News Radio. I'm Ron Flatter. 0% containment. That's one description of the wind-blown fire still burning in northern Arizona. It continues to threaten more than 3,000 residents in a couple towns between Flagstaff and Sedona.
The fire's burning in steep wooded canyons. Some residents have been told to evacuate, and thousands more have been put on a pre-evacuation notice. More than 800 personnel are fighting the fire, including those in water and retardant-dropping aircraft. The wind is still a problem, but it did shift directions, which blew the fire away from homes.
Fox News Radio's Jessica Rosenthal. Local reports in upstate New York say a tornado was confirmed west of Albany. Some property was damaged, no injuries reported. Tornado warnings have popped up today in the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic states, and for a second straight day in the Rockies.
Just based on the rotation that they have in them. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's a tornado, but the warnings have been based on radar.
Greg Dial of the National Weather Service. Tennessee's governor has just signed a law bringing back the electric chair. Republican Bill Haslam's signature makes it an option for executions if lethal drugs are unavailable. The legislature, dominated by Republicans, passed the bill this week. 3 Veterans Affairs officials didn't show up when asked to a hearing to discuss delays in the treatment of VA patients.
House Speaker John Boehner isn't yet calling for VA Secretary Eric Shinseki to resign.
Although I have to admit I'm getting a little closer.
And at the House Veterans Affairs Committee,
my patience is wearing very thin.
Republican Chairman Jeff Miller complains the VA has been stonewalling an investigation, slow to respond to document requests.
Fox News Radio's Jared Halpern in Washington. 2 months to the day after a devastating mudslide in Washington state, a 42nd body has been recovered. The sheriff's office in Snohomish County stopping short of confirming it was one of the 2 people still missing from the mudslide. The active search for victims ended late last month. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Right after Allen, it's Bill O'Reilly at 9 p.m. East, only on foxnewstalk.com. There's more to Fox News Radio than meets the ear. Go behind the headlines and join the conversation on the hottest stories of the day on the Fox News Radio Facebook page. Be a part of the Fox News Radio Facebook fan community. Post comments and tell us your opinions. See behind-the-scenes photos and videos and post your reactions to the stories that matter to you. Click the like button on Facebook and connect with breaking news and features like Fox in the Fast Lane, House Call for Help, and more. Go to facebook.com/Fox News Radio. Mornings at 9 East, 6 West. It's Kilmeade and Friends.
Could it be that the president wasn't in on the decision-making? That they had to go around the president? They couldn't get answers from the president? Could it be that Greg Hicks, who was on the ground warning everyone this is a terrorist attack, who was desperate to get anyone on the phone, Hillary Clinton was MIA, the president was in bed? You talk about not ready for the 3 a.m. call. What about the 10 p.m. call? But will it resonate? Will it matter?
Kilmeade and Friends. Be a part of it live weekday mornings at 9 East, 6 West. Fox News Talk.
Now that the seats are filled, the leaders of the House committee investigating the attacks on Benghazi got together today. Republican Chairman Trey Gowdy and top Democrat Elijah Cummings met for nearly an hour.
Gowdy said they discussed a timetable for hiring anywhere from 25 to 40 staff members, many of whom must either hold security clearances or gain them to work, something Gowdy termed building blocks for the probe. When asked if late July would be the time frame for the first public hearing for the panel, Gowdy replied that that was very ambitious. House Speaker John Boehner says don't rush.
They're going to have time to go through all of those documents. They're going to have to decide what do we know, what don't we know. and then figure out how to go get it.
In fact, Gowdy suggested that much of the work could be done in closed session with written depositions and interviews. At the Capitol, Chad Pergram, Fox News Radio.
The gay marriage ban passed 8 years ago by voters in South Dakota, now being challenged in a federal lawsuit. 6 couples filed it in Sioux Falls, making North Dakota the only state now that has an unchallenged ban on same-sex weddings. A new role for an old Pentagon boss.
The Boy Scouts National Council voting to approve Robert Gates for the volunteer role as their president at the organization's annual meeting in Nashville. Gates was defense secretary under President George W. Bush and President Obama, and has also served as director of the CIA and president of Texas A&M University. While defense secretary, he oversaw the end of the military's Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy that banned openly gay members. Last year, the Boy Scouts voted to end its ban on openly gay youth members. In an interview with Scouting magazine, Gates said he supports the end of that ban and says it was the right thing to do. The Boy Scouts still ban gay adult leaders. Lisa Lacera, Fox News Radio.
16 soldiers were reportedly killed in Ukraine in a confrontation with Russian sympathizers. It happened at a military checkpoint in the east. The country holds presidential elections Sunday. I'm Ron Flatter, Fox News Radio.
The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight.
I think if you take a look at some of the things positive that's happened in the VA, I think that they've done a pretty remarkable job.
Democratic Senator John Tester is in the minority as pressure is growing on President Obama. Tonight we'll tell you how the left is responding to the VA scandal.
This country has been sold down the river by the right wing for their own purposes. They are not American.
The best offense is a good offense, so the attacks on conservative Americans are being stepped up. Gutfeld and McGurk on that. Also tonight, 7 Iranians arrested by that fascist government for dancing. Caution, you are about to enter the no-spin zone from California. Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly, reporting tonight from Los Angeles. Thanks for watching us. The left rallies to save President Obama. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. The VA scandal is taking a big toll on the president. Even Americans who support him are vastly disappointed that our American military people are apparently still not getting first-class treatment by the VA. This troubling situation comes on the heels of Benghazi, the IRS, Fast and Furious, and Obamacare. The left has deflected all of those. However, it is hard to defend the VA debacle. Hard, but not impossible.
There has been a little bit of a rush to judgment. What happened in Phoenix? Well, the truth is, we don't know. But we are going to find out.
It was nickel and dimed under the Bush administration. So I think the president faces the important task of speaking to what is going to happen now, just showing what has been improved.
I think that they've done a pretty remarkable job if you consider all the folks coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan, doing right by the Vietnam vets. The injuries they're coming back with are pretty intense, especially the ones we can't see. I think that the VA is doing a pretty darn good job.
Senator Tester in the minority. Most clear-thinking Americans know the VA is not doing a pretty darn good job. Press coverage of the story has been interesting. ABC, NBC, and CBS did do fair coverage last night on their signature news broadcast. New York Times downplayed the story, but it was the Washington Post that really stepped up to help Mr. Obama. The Post editorializing, quote, that the extent of wrongdoing is unclear doesn't seem to matter much to those more interested in scoring political points. How else to explain the knee-jerk calls, mainly by Republicans in the House and the Senate, for the ouster of Veterans Affairs Secretary Eric K. Shinseki? It's important that the current problems be addressed, but they also ought to be kept in context and veterans not made, as the president put it, into another political football, unquote. Now, that is misguided in the extreme. And the Washington Post editorial board should know it. There are allegations that the veterans died in Phoenix because of bad VA policy, and that was covered up. Those allegations from doctors, from whistleblowers inside. That's not a political football. That's a disgrace. Now, looking forward. Talking Points congratulates CNN for breaking the story, and that network has been aggressive in covering the VA. The far-left zealots at MSNBC simply don't care. But the national media in general has to report on this. Thus, President Obama will not get a pass as he has in Benghazi, IRS, etc. Last night I predicted the president's job approval rating would fall below 40% as Americans are becoming exhausted by the unending bad news out of the Oval Office. This is not about ideology. This is about running the government efficiently. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction. Joining us from New York City, Fox News analyst Alan Colmes. So, Colmes, with all due respect, you have been one of the president's biggest apologists. Are you going to continue that with the VA situation?
Well, first of all, I object to the word apologist, but no, the answer is no. I think he's got a real problem here. You know, you said to Kirsten Powers the other night that I'll support Obama no matter what. That's just not true. In this particular case, they knew from 2008. He talked about it back then when he was running for president. There's a problem with the VA. Why has it not been focused upon? I also don't want to find out from the presidential press secretary that he found out about it when I did watching television. That's a little disturbing. But I'm not an apologist for the administration.
Well, I think the audience will make that determination. So, you, Alan Colmes, are now angry? Would that be right? Angry that the president has not solved the VA problem? Would that be accurate?
I don't know if angry is the right word. Frustrated? This is something that should have been addressed. Disappointed. This is much more important than taking care of our veterans who go and fight these wars. It's part of which is on Obama's watch, a surge in Afghanistan. People come back with PTSD, which is just recognized by the VA as recently as 2010. This has to be dealt with. And the real issue here is whether there were these secret lists in order to make the numbers look good back at the home office.
That's what the doctors say, you know, and we'll see. That shouldn't be hard to prove. There's a list or there isn't.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're disappointed and frustrated. Now, as a Fox News analyst, somebody who's paid to think, why do you think Mr. Obama did not pay attention to the VA? It's a little speculative question, but I'm sure you have pondered it in your leisure. Why?
I don't think it's on his radar. I think he's been so involved in other things. I just think his focus has been elsewhere. In terms of someone like Shinseki, I don't know that he deserves to resign or not yet, but that may be the case. I don't think the president likes to fire people. I don't think he likes to confront people.
No, it's obvious he doesn't like to fire people.
He doesn't like to confront people about whether they're doing a good job or not. And I think that's part of the issue as well. He likes
but you've got to get into the why. You're stating the obvious. And again, Fox News analysts are brilliant and paid to get behind the scenes. Why is he reluctant to fire people like Shinseki and like Sebelius, who obviously, maybe it isn't their fault, I think it is, but maybe I'm wrong. They're like the baseball manager who comes in last place. He's not hitting or pitching, but he got to go. Because the culture is a culture of failure. So why does Barack Obama not want to remove people who fail and place other, maybe more competent people in their stead?
I think it's part of his makeup. I think there are people with whom he has a comfort level, and he likes to maintain that as long as possible. I think it's part of his makeup not to be that confrontational with people, even if they're screwing up. And that has been
even
a problem.
If they're hurting the country and the veterans. Now,
it may be.
Could it be, Colmes, could it be that Barack Obama simply will never admit he has made a mistake? Could that be?
I think it's very difficult for him to admit that. I think it's very difficult for him to say. And let's face it, so many of these so-called scandals have not been scandals. And I think where the right has gone wrong is everything's become a scandal. Now we have something that I think truly might fall in that category. And so I think this is really where the rubber meets the road on this particular issue.
All right, so rubber, road, and all of that. Now, I just want to tell you that I'm a reasonable man. Would you admit that? You've known me now for almost 20 years. I'm fairly reasonable, right?
I think for the most part you are, yes.
All right, for the most part. I'd like to know if the White House ordered the IRS to target the Tea Party. I'd like to know that. It's undefined.
But the head of the Cincinnati office
said no. I'd like to know. Wait, Colmes. This is what I would like to know. I'd like to know if the IRS was ordered by somebody in the White House to do that. I'd like to know who told the military to stand down the night the Benghazi attack happened. I'd like to know that. I'd like to know why President Obama was not informed ahead of time that the website for Obamacare was a disaster. And I would like to know who ordered all of those guns, who specifically, to go to Mexico from the United States. As an American, Colmes, I would like to know that. So when you say these scandals are trumped up, you're really insulting me.
Well, there has been word that and controversy about whether there was a stand-down order. Some have said there has not been a stand-down order.
Well, let's define it, shall we?
Absolutely. In terms of the website, you're right. And in terms of what's happened here, let's find who knew what, when, how high it went, and that person should be removed. Absolutely, as quickly as possible.
The biggest is the IRS. That's the biggest. All right, Colmes, thanks for coming on. Next on the rundown, Andrea Tantaris with her point of view on the VA. Then, did you know Benghazi is a racial issue? I didn't. Wait till you hear what one congressman is saying. And The Factor will be right back from Southern California.
Tom Sullivan.
If they're not willing to tell the American people the truth, it must not be very pretty.
Must not be very pretty. It still comes down to, that's just human nature. If you know that somebody isn't being straight with you, isn't giving you the information that you're asking for, and not giving it to you in a very openly coy way, you got to think, okay, what's the real story here? Because we don't have it yet.
Tom Sullivan, weekday afternoons at 3 East, noon West. Or get the podcast at tomsullivan.com.
Great party, huh, guys?
Yeah, it is. So much fun.
I do say so myself. Hey, did you know that birthday parties actually help build confidence in kids?
Yeah, I did know that.
Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Right, of course.
Yeah, I knew that. Did you know that strollers have the right of way on sidewalks?
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, that's true. Did you know that friendly kids statistically have more friends?
Everyone knows that.
Oh, yeah?
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Obvious.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that.
Think I knew that.
No, you didn't.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Now, from the historical audio archives of Fox News Talk.
On July 27, 1976, after months of legal wrangling, former Beatle John Lennon finally won residency in the U.S.
Well, it's great to be legal again. I'll tell my baby, and I'll thank Wilco and, of course, the Immigration Service for finally seeing the light of day, as they say. Good. Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to. I should have got a different picture.
What does it mean to you after 5 years of struggling to become a permanent resident to get that green card?
Well, it was a very slow, long struggle, so it's not like, it suddenly ends. I'll come out of it slowly, and I realize I can go to visit relatives in Japan, show them the baby, show them in England, save them coming over here. And I can go visit the relatives and come back with safety now with the green card. How do you feel?
Oh, well.
Stay tuned to hear more history as it unfolds before your ears. It's the audio archives of Fox News Talk.
Wanting to lose weight but given up on dieting? Then you may be eligible for a free bottle of the Skinny 6 Super Supplement, a weight loss breakthrough available for the first time ever. So please listen carefully. Are you trying to lose more than 20 pounds? Are you 18 or over? Are you currently not dieting? If you answered yes to all of the above, congratulations. You qualify for a free bottle of the Skinny 6 Super Supplement. Be one of the first 100 callers when the phone lines open shortly. Unlike any diet supplement you've tried before, it combines the 6 most powerful, clinically proven weight loss ingredients into one miraculous super pill. But because the Skinny 6 Super Supplement is so powerful, this free bottle offer is only available to those not currently dieting. If you're 18 or over and wanting to lose over 20 pounds or more, find out how to claim your free bottle. Phone lines are open now. Call 1-800-460-9727. That's 1-800-460-9727. 1-800-460-9727.
Continuing now with our lead story, how the VA scandal will affect the President of the United States. Joining us from New York, co-host of The Five, Andrea Tantaros. So I'm very interested, as I ask Holmes, on the why of the story, okay? So we have the hard right, and I don't know whether you're in that crew or not, but you know a lot about the hard right. Their hypothesis is that Barack Obama intentionally is subverting the United States of America. He wants to ruin a country as we know it and build up a new country. That's the hard right's play. But it doesn't do him any good to get embarrassed by the VA in pursuit of that, if you buy it. So the VA scandal, that comes out of Benghazi, comes out of the IRS, comes out of Obamacare, and into a whole different category. So why do you think that the president didn't pay attention to an issue that he made a big deal out of before he was elected?
Well, first of all, Bill, I think the president has proven to be pretty disengaged on a lot of different issues. But the reason that I believe he's not as engaged in this one, especially now, even though it's gracing most newspapers and covering, it's a big story on cable news, is because if he addresses this bill, that makes him defensive on his signature issue, which is health care. I mean, think about this. This has to do with government-run health care. And he spent the first 4 years telling us that government-run health care, or at least plans that were mandated by the government, which is Obamacare, is the answer. And so I think that makes him very vulnerable.
There's a little bit of a difference here. Let me define the difference.
There's a difference.
And you can rebut it. The Veterans Administration, they run the hospitals. They hire the doctors. They're the ones that do the hands-on care, okay? And obviously, doctors have come forward who work for the VA and say, it isn't working. This is screwed up. So you're absolutely right there, 100% right, okay? Now, I don't know if that's every VA hospital, but certainly there's 26 states now being investigated. Obamacare isn't that. They run the insurance. And then you have to go to selected doctors and hospitals that take the insurance. So it's a little bit different than a direct hands-on, the government is treating the patient. But you say he's disengaged, and Ed Henry, our White House correspondent, said the same thing. Took the president 23 days to get up and running, and yesterday he was outraged. Well, he wasn't outraged 23 days ago. So I'm not understanding the why of this.
Well, if you also look at the other scandals too, Bill, 9 days to respond to the Times Square bomber, 5 days to respond to the IRS scandal, a number of days to respond to all these different, I think it was the BP oil issue, was about 10 days. So he waits and he sees how this plays out. And the reason he keeps people like General Shinseki in office and Kathleen Sebelius, who I don't think are comparable, is because they can run interference for him. They can handle the press corps. They're the ones who are dealing with all the incoming, and it's not him. So he doesn't want to let them go until this thing blows over, and the media that is in love with him decides that they're going to stop covering this story. And I do want to add one thing to what you said. You're absolutely right. Obamacare is not exactly single payer. However, under Obamacare, millions of Americans have signed up under Medicaid, which is more similar to the VA, Medicare, which is more similar, and a number of progressives and leftists in the Democratic Party, including President Obama himself, secretly wanted and openly wanted a single payer as part of Obamacare bill. And remember, they didn't get it as part of negotiations. So they pushed for something very similar to the VA. And if they had their wish and their dream, they would have it today. They love it. It's big government-run health care. This isn't a scandal bill. This is liberalism falling on its face, exposed to the country. And that's why they're calling it a scandal, because they don't want to debate the policy.
All right, Andrea, thanks very much. Directly ahead. The Benghazi investigation, now a racial issue, according to one congressman. Not going to believe it. Later, Megyn Kelly doing an hour-long special on the VA. She'll be here to preview it. Upcoming.
Weekdays on Fox Business.
Bottom line here is we want investors to be prepared for the day ahead, the week ahead.
Opening Bell with Maria Bartiromo.
The concept is to bring perspective, analysis. All day long, I'm speaking with global allocators of capital, CEOs, heads of state, so I can anticipate some of the major moves or reactions, giving investors an edge.
Opening Bell with Maria Bartiromo. Weekdays at 9 a.m. Eastern on Fox Business.
Fox on Film.
I'm Don Matheson.
You have no idea what's coming.
Can you kill it? Godzilla debuts as the second largest opener of the year, taking in more than $93 million. Bryan Cranston and Aaron Taylor-Johnson star in this updated version.
We're throwing a Robert De Niro party. Should be pretty loud.
You called the cops. You violated the circle of trust, Parker.
Just go.
You're upsetting Jinxie Cat.
Last week's number one, Neighbors, pushed down to number two in its second weekend. The raunchy comedy earning $26 million.
You know what it is I love about being Spider-Man? Everything.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 takes third place in the box office sweepstakes with almost $17 million in ticket sales.
Baseball is very hard.
This is Major League Baseball, not some social experiment. You're not ready for this kind of pressure. This is business. It'll be a sideshow.
The feel-good sports drama $1 Million Arms starring John Hamm comes in fourth place. That's Fox on Film from Fox News Radio.
Bill O'Reilly, coming up at 9 p.m. East on FoxNewsTalk.com.
If you're overwhelmed by debt and thinking about going to a credit counseling company for help, think again, because the majority of those companies actually work for the credit card companies, and they make the credit card companies a lot of money. from people just like you. But there's another way out of debt, and it's not bankruptcy. A way to reduce your debts and save you thousands of dollars. Even better, you can find out how for free by calling 1-800-509-3950. At Freedom Debt Relief, we're not a credit counseling organization. We're not a debt consolidation company. We offer a unique alternative to save you the most money possible to resolve your debt in the shortest amount of time. If you're thinking about a credit counselor, ask yourself this. Are they working for you or the credit card companies? Reduce your debts and save thousands of dollars by learning the secrets to settling your debt. For free information, call 1-800-509-3950. That's 1-800-509-3950. 1-800-509-3950.
Impact segment tonight, as you may know, the Congressional Committee investigating Benghazi has been formed. There are 7 Republicans and 5 Democrats on it. The committee will try to find out what exactly happened when Ambassador Chris Stevens and 3 other Americans were murdered in Libya. But some Democrats believe the Benghazi situation is being highlighted simply to harm President Obama.
I said to someone yesterday that I would not be all that concerned, for instance, about this new Benghazi select committee that we've just put in place. I seem to remember our history. When after Reconstruction, when people of color gained political presence throughout the South, they drummed up all kinds of things, indictments and accusations. They drove these people out of the South, and many of them, some went to Chicago, some came here to Washington, D.C., and I see the same kind of efforts to discredit this president, this administration.
Wow, that's quite a comparison. And I believe the congressman is saying that the Benghazi story and the committee, the congressional committee, is racially motivated. And joining us now from Washington React, Fox News analyst Laura Ingraham. I want to be careful here. I can't read the congressman's mind. But that was a kind of loopy comparison, was it not?
Well, I think you're being charitable to call it loopy. I mean, from 1863 to 1877, period of Reconstruction, very painful period in our country's history. He's right. A lot of blacks were driven out of the South. There was a mass exodus to places like Chicago and Kansas and other parts of the country. And to compare an inquiry into the deaths of 4 Americans on another 9/11 to Reconstruction is both insulting and I think invidious, silly, counterproductive, and poisonous to the national discourse. But Bill, I think this is a common pattern when the administration gets into trouble, right? I mean, you saw Eric Holder lay down a racial charge of sorts implicitly in front of Al Sharpton's group recently. Even Michelle Obama at that Kansas school speech she gave referenced, kind of a race question. And this comes up again and again. It even came up in the Obamacare context yesterday with Senator Jay Rockefeller. Implying that the criticism about Obamacare is racially based somehow. And all I'd say is if the congressman is saying all these things are being drummed up, I have a question for him. Is the fact that median income is flatlining, is that charge drummed up? Or the fact that we have record number of people on food stamps, is that drummed up? How about the approval ratings for President Obama? Those low approval numbers from Gallup and Pew and everyone else out there, are those drummed up? Are those all racially based as well? Is there any accountability left in Washington? Or are we supposed to hold the bar really low for President Obama simply because he's half black? I mean, I think the bar should be high for all of us, regardless of what our skin color is, and that's what I thought the hope of this administration was at least in part about back in 2008, but apparently that's not right.
Yeah, I still think the congressman is loopy. You could have, if you want to inject race into a congressional investigation, you've got to do it better than that. Because all this is, hey, why didn't the military mobilize? Why were the security warnings ignored?
What was President Obama doing that night? Yeah, a simple question like, what was the president actually up to that night? It's a legitimate thing.
The American people should know where the commander-in-chief is when people are under attack. Sure. And a congressional committee is charged to find those things out, whether they will or not.
Don't you think that's more than loopy, though, Bill? I mean, this is a no-spin zone. That's really poisonous. I mean, that's an attempt to shut down conversation and inquiry, to say that the charges are being drummed up, and the only reason these Democrats are basically going on to this committee, I believe, is because they want this to be a circus.
Well, that's what Clyburn believes. He believes that, and so do a lot of other African Americans. In their heart, they believe it. It's not a contrived thing. Now, are they wrong? I believe they're wrong. Are they loopy? Is that loopy? Historically, it's loopy. And that's all I'm saying. I want to ask you the same question I asked Andrea and Combs. I don't understand why Barack Obama is so disengaged. I don't understand it. As I stated, the hard right says, hey, O'Reilly, you're an idiot. It's clear that he wants to destroy the fabric of America as it is now. That's the hard right point of view. Why do you think he's so disengaged?
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to what we discussed, you and I discussed back in 2007 and 8. This really isn't, and hasn't ever been, his area of focus. Like the idea of governance or managing something really big, running a big enterprise. It's not that every governor is going to be a great president. We've had governors that have had real problems. I mean, even the second term of George Bush, obviously not easy, very difficult, made a lot of people really mad, Jimmy Carter, but at least having some experience in running something, I think that's part of it, Bill. I think another problem, though, with President Obama is that the only thing he ever really learned, it seems, in college and law school was community organizing, political activism. And I think he takes those issues very seriously, that strategy of organizing. I don't think you would have such incompetence on Obama's political team. I don't think he'd tolerate as incompetent a person, God bless her, as Kathleen Sebelius or even I would say Shinseki on this VA thing, or so disengaged a person on his campaign as he routinely allows throughout the executive branch. So, I mean, in the political operation,
it's all speculation.
Yeah.
It's all speculation, but efficiency, as I said in the T points, is what this is all about now. Ms. Laura, thank you. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. Howard Dean says Republicans are not American. That's a quote. Gutfeld McGurk on the case. But next, our mad as hell segment.
You're fired too. I'm fired? You son of a...
We hope you stay tuned for those reports.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I might look like an adult, like a person who could possibly be a parent, but I have no idea how to talk like one. And everyone knows that if you want to be a parent, you have to sound good when you say things like, "Don't make me turn this car around," or "because I said so," or "don't make me come back there." I don't even really know what those things mean, but I know that I actually believed my parents when they said them to me. How did they manage to sound so convincing? Here we go. "Don't make me come back there." Ugh, no, that's not tough enough at all. Kids can sense weakness. "Don't make me come back there." Ooh, yeah, that's better. In fact, that kind of sounded like my dad. Weird.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to listen to you practice your dad voice. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
Tom Sullivan.
If they're not willing to tell the American people the truth, it must not be very pretty.
Must not be very pretty. It still comes down to, that's just human nature. If you know that somebody isn't being straight with you, isn't giving you the information that you're asking for, and not giving it to you in a very openly coy way, you got to think, okay, what's the real story here? Because we don't have it yet.
Tom Sullivan, weekday afternoons at 3 East, noon West. Or get the podcast at TomSullivan.com. It's Fox Wheels.
GM has opened its checkbook, giving the government $35 million for not recalling years earlier cars with ignition problems. That's on top of a daily fine of $7,000 for missing answers on the government's recall questionnaire. Two lawmakers think the car should be parked. Transportation Secretary Anthony Fox says,
"We do not possess the power as Department of Transportation to tell customers to park their cars."
Fox says they're making sure the automaker keeps customers informed. GM safety boss Jeff Boyer says only a single key should be used, and investigators have been given 80 different terrain test results.
You can see the dramatic jarring the vehicle takes from both inside and outside the vehicle in this test and during our pothole tests.
And no key movement. Repairs have started, but Twin City Solstice owner Len Cushing says it's taking too long.
It's not a dealership problem. It's a GM problem that they're just not responding with parts quick enough.
The automaker recently issued 6 new recalls to fix brake lights, headlamps, and brakes. With Fox Wheels, I'm Jennifer Kuiper, Fox News Radio.
Want to lose weight? Listen up, because an incredibly effective weight loss supplement is being given out to 100 callers right now. Because it's so potent, please take no more than 1 capsule a day. Be one of the first 100 callers to get a risk-free trial. 1-800-968-5765. Supplies are limited because this product is proven and can cause dramatic weight loss. It's called AF+. Take one capsule just once a day as directed, and you can experience maximum weight loss. Pounds in days. It's all natural, safe, and healthy. But if your weight loss with AF Plus is too dramatic, please decrease use and only take it every other day. Only 100 callers are guaranteed to get a risk-free trial. Call 1-800-968-5765. Mayo Clinic research proves that carrying fat in your midsection raises your risk of heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, even cancer. If you need to lose weight, you absolutely must call now. 1-800-968-5765. 1-800-968-5765.
Matt's Health segment tonight, we have some teed-off factor viewers. Here now to help us out, Fox News anchor Heather Nauert. You see her in the morning on Fox and Friends. So, Heather, first letter comes from Maureen Jacobson, who lives in Boise, Idaho. On Matt's Health that you are giving free publicity to Hillary Clinton every night, 2 years prior to 2016. What difference does it make? Now, Heather, let me ask you something. You read the news in the morning.
Sure.
All right, is Hillary Clinton a newsmaker at this point?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you could argue that she's one of the most, if not the most powerful woman in the United States, poised, at least it looks like now, based on the money she's raising and the polling, that she could be the candidate in 2016. So, yeah, absolutely. You got to cover her.
All right. So we have to cover the news here, Maureen. And she's a big newsmaker. Second letter from James Hyde, Walcott, Vermont. I'm disappointed as hell. You did such a magnificent job, O'Reilly, in helping get one Marine released from Mexico's jail. There's another in Mexico right now incarcerated for making a wrong turn with guns in his car, which he immediately declared. Okay. What's the latest on this? And I'll tell you why I haven't covered it formally on The Factor after that, Heather. What's the latest?
Okay, so Tamarisi, he's been in jail since the 31st of March. He was arrested on weapons charges. He had 3 weapons, 2 of which, or they were all, by the way, legally owned and registered in the United States. We should mention that. In Mexico, 2 of those weapons are considered to be illegal, so they nabbed him for that. We spoke with his mother today. She says that she's not getting any contact from the State Department. They're not providing her with any information. But in a briefing earlier today, State Department officials say that he has been visited in prison 11 times by consular affairs officials.
And John Kerry, the Secretary of State, I understand, is talking to people in Mexico City.
In fact, he did bring it up with them. We don't know what came out of that meeting, but it was brought up.
Right, we expect the Marine to be released. Now, the reason we haven't covered it is because it's a little murkier than the first one. The first Marine had an antique gun of no consequence. It was obviously a frame extortion job. Americans don't accidentally go into Mexico.
Well, Bill,
right? It doesn't happen a lot.
I think that's what a lot of people would think. A lot of people are probably envisioning a dark, dusty road with a big sign that says Mexico. This is a complicated confluence of roads, and Greta's covered it on her show. And when you look at all those pictures and the video, and she says it is easy to get confused and turn the wrong way, which is exactly what he did.
How many other Americans have turned the wrong way, Heather?
Lots of them. There were some statistics on that, and it does happen a lot. And we've seen the pictures, and you look at it, and it really is easy to understand how he says he got lost. Mexican officials, though, dispute that. We have to be, before we threaten the Mexican government here on The Factor, because that's how we got the other Marine out, we've got to be very, very careful. So we are watching. Third missive, Jim Sanders, Wichita, Kansas. How is it that Michael Sam's being drafted is such a big deal just because he's gay, when Alejandro Villanueva, former Army Ranger and Bronze Star recipient that was also drafted, gets no attention? Briefly, Heather, 20 seconds, tell me about Alejandro. Okay, terrific story. Army Ranger, served with the Army Rangers for 4 years, 3 deployments to Afghanistan, 2010 graduate of West Point. They moved him around to a lot of positions. He recently signed a rookie free agent contract with the Eagles after they saw him at the Detroit Regional Combine. That's where a lot of guys will get together and they'll try out for the teams if they're eligible. But he had also tried out for the Bengals back in 2010, right after he got out of West Point. He was cut from that team. But the coach of the Eagles is a big supporter of special ops and likes to work with guys who are strong players. And this guy, by the way, is huge. This guy's, let's see, he's 6'9", almost 280, Bill. I mean, imagine that. But he's a good player and he's athletic, and it looks like
we'll follow him. And that was a good letter. That was a good letter. We'll follow him. Last letter, Amy Baslett, Houma, Louisiana. I'm glad you mentioned littering as part of our environmental problems, O'Reilly. The scattered trash I see practically everywhere I go makes me mad as hell, but climate change fanatics hardly ever mention it. And I'll take this one, Heather, and we really appreciate you being on tonight. The climate change is political. It's political, and it's all about getting higher taxes on certain industries that the left doesn't like. That's what it's about. Not about cleanliness, not about godliness, not about anythingness. So you're right, all good Americans should never throw trash anywhere but in the receptacle.
You're right.
And if you're mad as hell, we want to hear about it. Please write us, madashell@foxnews.com, madashell@foxnews.com. We come right back. Megyn Kelly doing an hour special on the VA situation. She'll be here to give us a preview. Then, Gutfeld and McGurk together again, and they're very happy.
Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you.
You'll see the boys dance after these messages.
That's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lisa Luciano. Hundreds of firefighters working to protect communities near Flagstaff, Arizona from a wildfire that's charring a canyon.
Some homes north of Sedona are in the fire's path, but U.S. Forest Service spokesman Dick Fleshman says the work that's been done may keep the number of structures lost in this fire to zero.
The burnout operation that we did actually helped quite a bit.
Aside from burnout operations and hand crews cutting line, he says water-dropping helicopters have been especially helpful.
Fox Radio's Jessica Rosenthal. A formal sit-down between the chair of the committee set to investigate the Benghazi attack and the ranking Democrat.
Benghazi Committee Chairman Trey Gowdy of South Carolina huddled with Maryland Democrat Elijah Cummings for just under an hour in Cummings' office on Capitol Hill. Gowdy said they discussed a timetable for hiring anywhere from 25 to 40 staff members, many of whom must either hold security clearances or gain them to work, something Gowdy termed building blocks for the probe.
Fox's Chad Perker on Fox News. We report, you decide.
Now, from the historical audio archives of Fox News Talk.
Yankee great Casey Stengel and Mickey Mantle testified before the Senate Antitrust and Monopoly Subcommittee hearing on baseball.
I was asking you, sir, why it is that baseball wants this bill passed.
I would say I wouldn't know, but I would say the reason why they'd want it passed is to keep baseball going as the highest baseball sport that has gone into baseball, and from the baseball angle. I'm not going to speak of any other sport. I'm not in here to argue about other sports. I'm in the baseball business. It's been run cleaner than any baseball business that was ever put out in the 100 years at the present time.
Well, Mr. Mantle, do you have any observations with reference to the applicability of the antitrust laws to baseball?
My views are just about the same as Casey's.
Stay tuned to hear more history as it unfolds before your ears. It's the audio archives of Fox News Talk.
In the wake of a disaster, what one thing can you send that will help people the most? A blanket, a tent, a sterile bandage, a sandbag, a doctor, a sheet of plywood, a shovel, a bulldozer, a stethoscope, a cement mixer, an oxygen tank, a bed, a house. Actually, if you send a monetary donation, you send all these things. Even a small donation can make a big impact. It can quickly become exactly what people affected by disaster need most: food, medical services, shelter, and other essential supplies. It can help improve the immediate distress and over time becomes a crucial tool in rebuilding schools, hospitals, and homes and getting local businesses back on their feet. A monetary donation is an easy and effective way you can help.
Want to help those affected by Hurricane Sandy? To donate, visit sandy.adcouncil.org. That's sandy.adcouncil.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
The O'Reilly Factor, the #1 cable news show for 14 years running.
Thanks, Stan Winnis and Bill O'Reilly reporting from Los Angeles. And in the Kelly File segment, tomorrow evening, Friday, Miss Megyn will do a 1-hour special on the VA scandal at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. She joins us now from New York City with a preview. So how are you going to advance the story when, we're all covering it, we're all right on it? How are you going to move it ahead?
In several ways. The first that I want the viewers to know about is that we've got an actual panel of real-life veterans with personal stories about what they've been through across this country. You'll hear live witness testimony, basically, about people struggling with cancer who couldn't get in for months after being diagnosed with cancer, couldn't get in for months to see a doctor, and so on and so forth. So you'll hear those testimonials directly from the veterans themselves who are outraged and who do not believe that President Obama's press conference yesterday got it done. They feel no confidence in him. We also poll all of them whether they think General Shinseki should resign. The results are rather stunning. Also, a wholehearted defense of him. We'll have Ralph Peters with a full-throated defense of General Shinseki and why he does not believe this is his fault.
Peters can be a contrarian, so that'll be interesting. Based on your research, I'm very interested in the military people you're going to have on the air. What's the essential problem? Why can't they get the treatment they need in a timely manner?
It sounds to me like, from talking to the witnesses, this could boil down to a big government problem. I mean, it's a huge agency. It services so many veterans, including, today with the retirement and the aging of the Vietnam veterans, and now so many combat vets coming back from war. It's not an excuse, but it's the explanation in part for why the problem has gotten so bad. We also seem to have a president who trusts his cabinet secretaries and doesn't necessarily get his own hands dirty when he has a problem. He doesn't really get in there, get the elbow grease going, and figure out what's happened and how to fix it until yet another catastrophe has taken place. He hasn't met with General Shinseki one-on-one in 2 years, Bill, despite describing this as the cause of his presidency when he took office. Well, if it's the cause of your presidency, why can't the Veterans Affairs Secretary get a private meeting with you?
Well, I don't know if Shinseki even asked for one, but that's not unusual, as you know. Those of us, including yourself, who have been covering the president since he was elected in 2008, know he doesn't engage. He doesn't talk to Congress. He doesn't talk to his own party.
He doesn't even talk to generals in the field, Bill. We've heard from generals in Afghanistan who have served this country in Afghanistan and Iraq complaining that they cannot get the face time they need before the president.
With the commander-in-chief. So what is it about President Obama, all right, in your opinion, that makes him float above and not engage at the level where the problems are appearing?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I don't know the answer to that. I can't get in President Obama's head. I do think that there are just in general, whether it's in the private sector or in the government, different types of leaders, different types of CEOs. And I'm sure President Obama thinks he put good people in place and that he can rely on those people to flag issues for him, whether it be the Obamacare website or the status of trying to fix this ongoing and lengthy and years-long VA problem. But unfortunately, what we've seen over the past few years is he cannot necessarily be that hands-off. He cannot necessarily rely on these people because time and time again we're seeing the problems emerge.
I'm like that, Megan. I don't have much to do with the factor. I just get made up and come on in.
You were told you would just have to look pretty?
Yeah, and it's been a struggle for 18 years to do that. But we have good plastic surgeons here. But anyway, I think you're right. I think that he is a manager who really doesn't, and I don't really know why, want to know what's happening. He just wants it to work out. All right, we're going to watch that special. We're going to watch you tonight right after the factor. Megan, thank you. On deck, Gutfeld McGurk. Howard Dean says Republicans are not good Americans. Also, big controversy over the song Happy. The Boys in a moment.
Fresh, fun, informative. It's Fox and Friends.
Hashtag that.
Weekday mornings, pull up a seat and join Steve, Elizabeth, and Brian on the curvy couch.
We're going to do something that has never been done.
Get a jump start on the important stories, hot topics, and issues everyone will be talking about.
It's a fascinating story.
Plus, you never know who's going to stop by.
I am glad to share a smile with you this morning.
Or what's going to happen next. Come on, come on, come on. Get in on the conversation. Weekday morning, Fox and Friends on Fox News Channel.
Tom Sullivan.
I've heard President Obama say, I'm in favor of lower corporate tax rates. And I've heard the Republicans say that. You got the president, you got Republicans. It seems like low-hanging fruit. Why they don't go in and say, why don't we change the tax rates? It seems to be too simple. But for some reason, the pinheads that we have under the dome are not capable of figuring this thing out.
Tom Sullivan. Be a part of it live. Weekday afternoons at 3 East, noon West. Or get the podcast at TomSullivan.com. Fox Country.
I'm Kirsten McNary.
Somewhere sunny and 75.
Joe Nichols is a father for the third time. Wife Heather gave birth to daughter Georgia Blue Tuesday. Heather Nichols revealed in 2012 she's had 5 miscarriages due to an autoimmune disorder.
It's gonna be one of those. I can drink to that all night.
Pitbull joining Jared Neiman for a remix of Neiman's hit Drink to That All Night. It's available as a digital single. And in other mashup news, that's Justin Moore and Motley Crue singer Vince Neil performing the Crue's power ballad classic Home Sweet Home live. And coming in July, the album Nashville Outlaws, a tribute to Motley Crue, will include 15 country covers of the debauched band's hits, like Brantley Gilbert on Girls, 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 and Rascal Flatts will take on the Ode to an Overdose, Kickstart My Heart. That's Fox Country from Fox News Radio.
If you need to lose 30 pounds or more, please listen carefully. Mayo Clinic research proves that carrying fat in your midsection raises your risk of heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, even cancer. If you need to lose at least 30 pounds, we're inviting you to participate in a limited release of a groundbreaking weight loss supplement called Final Trim. To participate in this risk-free trial and lose weight now, call this toll-free number in the next 5 minutes, 1-800-390-2121. Final Trim can mean the difference between a failed diet and a weight loss success story. Please lose weight with Final Trim responsibly and take no more than 2 capsules once a day. For your participation, you will be given a full-size supply to use absolutely risk-free. Participation is strictly limited. Only call if you need to lose weight for legitimate reasons. To lose weight now and participate in this risk-free trial of Final Trim, call toll-free 1-800-390-2121. Phone lines will be open for the next 5 minutes. 1-800-390-2121. 1-800-390-2121.
Back in the book segment time, very provocative soundbite by the former governor of Vermont, Howard Dean.
This country has been sold down the river by the right wing for their own purposes. This is a Republican Party that has decided they like power so much that they think it's okay to win by taking away the right to vote. They are not American. They could be more comfortable in the Ukraine or Russia, but stay away from our country. This is based on the right to vote.
I think the governor might have visited happy hour before that statement, but I'm not sure. Joining us now from New York City to react, Bernard McGurk and Greg Gutfeld. So, Gutfeld, this is all about requiring an ID to vote, correct?
I believe so, but here's an interesting fact about Howard Dean. Howard Dean is actually a unit of measurement for insanity. For example, 1 Dean would be used to describe a naked man running down the street. 2 Deans is a naked man covered in jam, and 3 Deans is Al Sharpton. Here's the interesting thing about Howard Dean. He says we have to end the politics of hate and the politics of divisiveness. He says this after saying the Republicans should move to Russia. He is a walking bag of crazy.
And you, McGurk, are going to be more gentle on the governor, are you?
Well, no, I would just, this guy, Dizzy Dean, he's just another privileged, angry white guy from the supposed party of tolerance, spewing wildly intolerant and ignorant nonsense. Yes, it's about voter ID laws. If you lose on the merits and the American people are against you, impugn your opponent's motives, which is essentially what he's doing. And who is this guy anyway? He won Iowa 10 years ago. He was the governor of Vermont. Willie Nelson could have been the governor of Vermont. This guy, he makes Alan Combs look like FDR. He couldn't carry. Right. He's not fit to carry Hillary's pantsuits to the cleaners, this guy.
You know what? It's interesting, though. If I ever run into Howard Dean, and he would flee if that happened, I would say, should every Canadian go to the Ukraine and Russia? Because in Canada, you have to produce an ID to vote. And Canada is not a conservative country. It's just common sense. All right. From Canada, we go to Iran. All right? So there was a video made about that hit song, Happy. Roll a tape.
Because I'm happy, clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy, clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, I'm happy, clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
All right, now there is no Farsi version of Happy, but everybody knows what Happy is, McGurk. Yeah. And so these people who were dancing, they're Iranians, were arrested by that happy government over in Tehran.
Well, you could call it dancing, Bill. I think Bernie Goldberg and Alan Combs could dance better than these poor kids in the video. However, I think this is progress. Back in the 80s, you would get beheaded and stoned for, having been dancing with the Shahs. Today, you can get stoned and make a video and just do 2 nights in jail. So that's actually progress. And the fact that this went wildly viral, it just highlights the fact that the Iranian people are not like Boko Haram sympathizing, Jew-hating jihadists. They're actually halfway normal people. They're kind of progressive as opposed to the Ayatollahs that run the place.
Yeah, I mean, the Persians, they're Persian people. They're not halfway normal, McGurk. They're all the way normal.
And the president,
and they're under the thumb.
The president of the country actually tweeted sympathy for these kids. So in other words, it's actually a net plus for.
Yeah, before he put them up for $300,000 bail, he was sympathetic to them. But the fact that they were arrested, Gutfeld, just leads me to ask you, if somehow your plane was diverted to Iran, how much time would you get?
Well, actually, I find that to be quite a lovely vacation, because you know I like to be tied up. Can you believe, though, Bill, that a country would jail people based on a video that upset them? That would never, ever, ever happen here. I couldn't imagine that ever happening, a video being blamed for something. You know what, though? This is like a Middle Eastern version of Footloose, but I guess you would call it Footless. It is a reminder that other countries, other cultures are weird, and that if we could, I wish there was an interplanetary real estate agent, that we could just lift America off this planet and take us to a normal place.
Well, in that vein, I think that everybody should be happy that we live in America, and we don't have to put up with that nonsense.
And we don't need to import inferior beliefs here, beliefs that
I just want to correct McGurk. McGurk made a fallacious statement. Alan Colmes is actually an excellent dancer. I mean, he gives Fred Astaire a run. So I mean, let's not mock him.
You should see his staff.
I wouldn't know that, Gutfeld, but thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Yes,
gentlemen, thanks very much. Factor tip of the day: are you a mean person? The tip, moments away.
Hello, this is Michael Douglas. Pneumonia can be dangerous, especially for older people and for those who have diseases like asthma, emphysema, or chronic bronchitis. Fortunately, there's a vaccine that can immunize people against one of the most common forms of pneumonia. If you're over 60 or have a chronic lung disease, ask your doctor whether a pneumonia vaccine would be right for you. It could protect you from a serious illness or even save your life.
A message from the Will Rogers Institute. Visit us at wrinstitute.org.
Expanding your opinion base. John Gibson.
Look, there's good news here. For those of you who've been frustrated that these scandals get nowhere because the lefty press, the Obama-supporting media, won't engage on them, well, they're going to engage on this one because, veterans are everywhere, and veterans are truly a sacred cow, and you can't go around letting them die.
John Gibson, be a part of it live weekdays at noon East, 9 a.m. West. Fox Rocks.
I'm Kirsten McNary. Michael Jackson lives as a hologram, performing Slave to the Rhythm at the Billboard Music Awards on ABC. And Robin Thicke continued his effort to woo back estranged wife Paula Patton.
I gotta get her, go, get her, go, get her, go, get her back. Help me out, John.
Good luck with that, Robin.
Still I call it magic.
Coldplay's sixth studio album, Ghost Stories, is out now. It's assumed to be a breakup album about singer Chris Martin's conscious uncoupling from wife actress Gwyneth Paltrow.
Just one drink, kiss me closer. Just one drink.
Jack White giving Rolling Stone magazine a preview of his upcoming solo album. Lazaretto is due out June 10th. And Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger is a great-grandfather. Granddaughter Assisi Jagger giving birth to a girl. That's Fox Rocks from Fox News Radio.
Factor tip of the day, are you a mean human being? In a moment. First, an update on what's popular on BillO'Reilly.com right now. USA Strong Gear going strong for Father's Day. I like my hat and I like my shirt. Very nifty. Dad'll like them too. His, not mine. Killing Jesus, approaching 2 million in sales. If Dad hasn't read it, lay it on him. And I can sign copies for your father with a personalized greeting. Get those orders into BillO'Reilly.com soon for Father's Day. Now the mail, Ruben Lovato, Petaluma, California. The VA scandal has little to do with incompetence. It has to do with President Obama's objective to undermine and destroy the greatness of America. As we discussed throughout the program, Ruben, I understand that's a hard right point of view. But as you know, it's impossible to prove state of mind. Ken Edwards, Goldsboro, North Carolina. Bill, I agree with your talking points concerning the government's total disregard for our vets. But how can you say you believe the president cares? Mr. Obama knew and did nothing to correct the problems with the VA. That's true, Ken. The president did not pay attention to the problem. That goes to effectiveness on the job. But over the years, I've asked Mr. Obama to help us help the vets. And he has every time. This is a fact-based broadcast, and I report the facts. Elaine Llewellyn, California, Maryland. O'Reilly, you insinuated that Karl Rove was lying based on the VA document you were quoting. That was poorly sourced on your part. You're misguided, Elaine. I insinuated nothing. I quoted from an official VA document. I sourced it accurately, period. Will Babcock, Marysville, Washington. Karl Rove stated that military retirees can draw their pension and disability without choosing one or the other. That's not quite true. Only if your disability rating is 50% or greater can you get both. Norm Wallace, Highland, California. Bill, I enjoyed the Boulder Fresher show in Honolulu. I flew back that night to Los Angeles so I could see my mom on Mother's Day and gave her a signed copy of Killing Jesus. She loves it, and you, but loves me more, as she should, Norm. You're a good son. Glad you liked the show. And the last two Boulder Fresher appearances before the fall are in Rapid City, South Dakota on July 25th, Fargo, North Dakota, the next night, July 26th. Tickets make great Father's Day gifts. Details on BillO'Reilly.com. Finally, tonight, the factor tip of the day. So I'm walking around Beverly Hills last night, and a young black woman comes up to me and says she's a big Factor fan, but her friends think that I'm a racist. I was a little surprised, thanked her for watching, and went on my way. Now, two things were in play there. Is the woman a Factor fan? Probably not, because that racist jab takes away any goodwill, does it not? You don't imply someone's a racist using anonymous friends. That's cheap.